It might come as a shock to many of you, but nearly all birds have lice. Most birds, just below the feathers, have a whole community of parasites that you normally don't see. Bird lice are wingless insects that spend their entire life cycle on the bird. As you might expect, given that nearly all birds have lice, lice have a long evolutionary history with birds. Until recently, however, no fossil was known for any louse. This fossil louse on the left was described in 2004, and at 44 million years old remains the oldest fossil for this group of insects, and appears very similar to other lice on water birds shown on the right. Unlike many mammal lice, bird lice do not suck blood, rather they have chewing mouth parts and chew at skin and even eat feathers. Because lice are quite thin and transparent, you can usually see the last meal of the louse inside its digestive tract. Now if you squint and look closely at the contents of the meal of this fossil louse, you can see some striations closely resembling chewed up feathers. Now I know some of you are easily impressed by old fossils of your favorite body parts, but this is the oldest fossilized meal. Well, at least the oldest one made up of feathers. Feathers, of course, are not very tasty, but they are an excellent source of protein, and these lice are able to digest them. You can see the damage that these lice do to feathers on the right, which interferes with the bird's ability to keep warm in winter. Birds, however, are not without their defenses against lice. Preening is one of the main defenses birds have against lice, and birds that preen normally can keep their louse loads quite low. In fact, some individual birds are completely louse-free. It turns out the bill has a small but important feature that makes birds more efficient preeners. This feature is the bill overhang. Scrub jays vary considerably in the length of their bill overhang, and birds with overhangs too short or too long have much higher louse loads. Birds use this overhang in a mortal and pestle-like action to crush lice. As you might expect, lice have co-evolved ways of escaping from host preening. Obviously, some places of the bird are hard to preen, like the head, so if lice remain on the head, they would be hard to preen off. Another way that lice escape from preening is by inserting between the feather barbs of the wing. These wing lice have a long and thin body shape. When the bird is not preening, they hang out on the surface of the flight feathers. When the bird starts to preen, as shown on the right, they insert themselves between the feather barbs. This makes it difficult for the bird to remove them with their bill, because their bills just slide right over the feathers and the inserted lice. Many groups of birds host different louse species that live in these different microhabitats. Doves, for example, host both wing and body lice. Body lice have a rounded body with a rounded head margin, and they burrow in the feather down to escape preening. Other groups of birds have wing lice, body lice, and head lice, such as parrots. Head lice have a rounded body with a triangular head with strong muscularization. These muscles are attached to the mandibles, which these lice use to grip barbs of the head feathers to avoid being removed by scratching. It turns out most groups of birds have feather lice that live in these different microhabitats. Along the top are some different groups of birds, and each row is a picture of lice from a certain microhabitat. It can easily be seen which microhabitat these lice prefer because they have similar shapes. For example, head lice on the top have a characteristic rounded body with triangular head. Wing lice, the next row down here, all have a long and thin body shape. There are two main theories for how this diversity of parasites might have evolved. The first possibility is that as birds diversified into different groups, their lice followed suit. So all the wing lice, for example, would be closely related. An alternative theory is that lice from a single group of birds are closely related. So all the wing, head, and body lice from parrots might be closely related to each other, diverging into these different microhabitats on the same group of birds. To test these two alternatives, we built an evolutionary tree for lice based on DNA sequences. Over this tree, we mapped out the distribution of head, wing, and body lice, and these are the different colors. We also examined the host associations of these lice. And what we found is that there are 7 cases where lice from the same group of birds, but from different microhabitats, were closely related. For example, here the head lice and body lice of parrots are closely related. Similarly, the wing lice and head lice of ducks are close relatives. This pattern was repeated throughout the tree. By now, some of you are probably itching or scratching your heads, wondering, what does this have to do with me? Well, some of you may recognize these two lice, and if you don't, count yourselves lucky. Yes, it turns out they're closely related too, but that's another story.